Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and believe it or not, just a few days ago, Xdefiant had its 1-year anniversary. It was a pretty bittersweet day because the servers were packed with nostalgic fans all returning to play the game, though while playing, most couldn't help but feel like they were walking through a ghost town. It's a really weird feeling to play Xdefiant these days because you see the gorgeous maps and you use the iconic guns and you see all the different characters and the factions and you listen to the funny quips that the announcers have and everything, and then you get this really strange feeling like you're playing the game, it's here, you're here, everything is available, and the servers have players, but it feels like you're walking back in time almost. It's really hard to describe. It's almost like when you boot up your favorite online game from your childhood. Like, it's nice to be able to play it, but it's never the same as when you were a kid, and playing Xdefiant in its dying days pretty much feels the same way. Even though the game is only a year old, it feels so much older than that, mostly because of all the playtests that we had before the game came out, but also, and more importantly, the fact that the game got sunset almost 6 months ago. Ubisoft shut the game down, all of the developers got laid off, but for the time being, the servers are still online, and as I'm recording this video, Xdefiant is set to shut down forever in 11 days. Just 11 days time on June 3rd, and it's been about 6 months ever since the game got canned, and that adds almost this creepy overtone, this weird atmosphere to the game when you play it now. The same maps are still here, the same guns are here, they even released a whole bunch of extra content that they were working on, but knowing that there's nobody on the other end of the game anymore really gives me this strange, almost unsettling feeling. You see what the devs were working on, you have all the memories you made on this game, you think about where the game started and how it developed, and then ultimately where it led to. In a lot of ways, playing Xdefiant in its final days is like playing in a time capsule, because soon this game is going to be gone forever. You'll have taken your last steps on Arena, you're gonna get your final kill with the P90, you know, you're gonna capture your last flag in Domination, you're gonna see your final MVP screen and get your final upvotes from other players. I think gaming is really weird in that way. Ultimately, they're just pixels, right? We're just running around this virtual world, but it's so much more than that at times. I've always been a very nostalgic person. Maybe that's why I've stuck around with the Call of Duty franchise for so long, because I remember how good the franchise used to be and I want to be able to go back to that, but Activision does everything in their power to make sure we never get back to that point. But still, one of my favorite things about gaming is that games rarely go away. There have been iconic titles that were shut down in the past, but a lot of the time, old games are still there, it's just that nobody is playing it. At any point, you can boot up something like Call of Duty 4 and play that game, even though it's 18 years old. There's nothing in that game that will ever be lost to time. It's always going to be around, but a game like Xdefiant is different. Soon it's going to be gone forever, and maybe someday dedicated players might crack the code and create private servers for fans to play on, but that seems like quite a stretch. In 11 days, all the work, all the time, the dedication, the creativity, and the passion behind Xdefiant will just become a cliff note in some video essay on YouTube about the downfall of Ubisoft. The people behind this game, you know, the actual developers, not the suits calling the shots, were incredibly talented. The passion behind this game was clearly visible in the map design and the art style and the weapon handling and the faction abilities. When they made this game, they sought to make an online shooter that was reminiscent of the golden age of gaming, back when the game was about fun and not about algorithms, back when gaming was about creating these amazing online experiences for players as compared to just creating value for their shareholders. Now, don't get me wrong, they wanted to make money, of course, sure, you know, gaming is a business at the end of the day, but instead of pumping out 6 different $30 battle passes a year and manipulating matchmaking to hinder good players and releasing 23 freaking shop bundles a month, the Xdefiant team instead decided that their goal was to make a quality gameplay experience first, and then from there everything else would fall into place. Unfortunately for them, however, Ubisoft never backed them up or gave them the support that they needed to truly compete against the juggernauts within this industry. It's been reported that the player numbers for Xdefiant were just fine. It of course was not taking the world by storm, but a big part of that was Ubisoft would not even give the game a marketing budget. There were no ads, no real trailers, nothing essentially. The game was released and it was basically up to the developers to market their game on Twitter and in interviews. Channels like Blame Truth and myself are pretty much the only marketing that the game had, and that's not because they paid us, because they didn't, but rather we were two of the only people who were playing the game a ton and consistently making content surrounding it. The game essentially had no backing from its own publisher, and that is so asinine if you think about it, because the entire point of a publisher is to help out with financing, marketing, and distribution, and Ubisoft did pretty much none of that. They just said, you know what, we got Ubisoft Connect, put the game on there, and we'll call it good. And even then, that was a pretty terrible idea because Ubisoft Connect sucks. Why not put the game on Steam? Why have the game be solely tied to Ubisoft Connect? Just pay Steam the money. This is why your company is in the freaking toilet right now. Just so many bad decisions, one after another. To cancel a game like Xdefiant, not even 6 months after its launch, is incredibly short short-sighted. It's been said that they shut the game down because they, as a company, were struggling financially and they wanted to restructure and focus on different projects. They did not see the big picture when it came to this game. Like most suits in most boardrooms around the world, they likely didn't even play this game. They just saw that they published the title, they didn't market it at all, and then when the game didn't take the world by storm, they shut it down and laid off all of the employees behind it in order to save money. When the order came in to shut everything down, the Xdefiant developers decided to release everything that they were working on, and that really proved just how terrible of a decision this was on the part of Ubisoft. They released 13 new maps, 3 new factions, tons of new guns and abilities and equipment and everything. It was clear that the developers were hard at work and they planned on this game being out for years to come. Xdefiant to me will always be remembered as the game that tried to go against the tide of modern gaming, to harken back to the simpler era that got us all hooked on games in the first place, but unfortunately, internal politics, strife, and lack of foresight from their own owner and publisher ultimately sealed the fate for this game. Playing Xdefiant now is still an enjoyable experience, but it's nothing like it was back during its prime. The servers are still up, but they are struggling. There is no server maintenance anymore, and there's nobody even working on the servers in the back end. Everybody got laid off. The servers are just up, and that's pretty much it. So the remaining players who sign in are all basically thrown into these same servers regardless of their location in the world, which means that connectivity is terrible and gunfights almost feel random. You see that notification at the top of my screen right now? Well, virtually every gunfight I get into now has that notification popping up, indicating to me that there is high and varying latency within my match, mostly when I'm in a gunfight. It's almost as if the servers can't handle keeping everything together when the lobby has too many people from faraway places. Almost picture it to be like lag compensation back in the day. The servers are trying to keep everybody on the same page, but they're struggling to do so, which means what's happening on your screen might not necessarily be happening on the other player's screen, which makes a lot of gunfights feel pretty bad. Now, don't get me wrong, Xdefiant wasn't exactly known for having amazing servers or amazing hit detection. Dying around corners was certainly a problem when this game was popular, but all of those things were being continuously updated and worked on by the developers, and they were getting better and better throughout the game's life cycle. Now that there are a very limited number of players on the game, you just have to make do with what you got. You sort of have to accept that connections are going to be bad and that desync is going to happen, and the craziest thing about that is this experience is still more fun than the manipulation that goes on within the Call of Duty franchise. I truly believed in Xdefiant as both a game and a concept. The developers truly wanted to deliver the best gameplay experience for their players because the guns were awesome, the maps were amazing, the factions offered a fun twist, and from a pure gameplay perspective, Xdefiant was incredible, at least for me personally. I was really looking forward to playing this game for years to come. I already had like 70 or 80 dedicated videos for this game on my channel, even though I'm known as a Call of Duty channel. I was live streaming the game every single day, and then just out of nowhere, Xdefiant got shut down, and I'll never forgive Ubisoft for what they did, not only to the players who love this game, but also to the hardworking and passionate developers who created such an amazing title in the first place. Had Xdefiant had the support that it needed, it would have certainly done better. Maybe it wouldn't be the biggest game in the world or anything, but it would have continued to grow and more fans would have jumped on board, and that really could have helped out the gaming scene as a whole. To have a game like this that proudly said no to skill-based matchmaking be successful would mean that other games and other companies would be more inclined to follow suit. Instead, virtually every single game that comes out now is full of skill-based matchmaking and other manipulative algorithmic bullshit because that's what Call of Duty is doing. It's quite literally a situation of monkey see, monkey do, and Xdefiant was trying to fight against that, but ultimately it wasn't enough. It can never be said that the lack of skill-based matchmaking is why Xdefiant failed. It simply came down to everything else. Had this game been made by literally any other publisher besides Ubisoft and besides Activision, it probably would be thriving right now. It just came down to an incredible game being handled by the wrong publisher at the wrong time. Had Ubisoft not run their company into the ground well before Xdefiant was a twinkle in Mark Rubin's eye, then I truly believe this game would be flourishing and fans of fast-paced arcade shooters would finally have a place they can call home. It just sucks what happened to Xdefiant, man. It really does. And in 11 days' time, the servers are going to shut down forever, and we're never going to be able to play this game again. So I highly recommend, if you're somebody who got the game back in the day, that you boot it up and play a couple of matches, because even with the servers being the way that they are, you're still going to enjoy your time because this game is organically fun. You're going to enjoy yourself because the game is good, instead of the Call of Duty approach of tricking you into thinking you're having fun by manipulating your matches in one way or another. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be pretty much it for this nostalgic video here today. It's more of a trip down memory lane than anything, and It's crazy. The game is only a year old, but I feel like I'm talking about a title that I grew up with. I know a lot of you guys played Xdefiant and enjoyed the game, as well as the videos I did here on the channel covering the game, so I want to encourage all of you to sign in and play the game while you can before it's gone forever. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video here today. Leave your thoughts and feedback down there in the comments. Thank you all so much for listening and for your continued support of my channel, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.